Okay, I'm gonna be very honest. When I read this, the first thing that just clicked in my mind is this baby is probably ovulating, because what in the fuck? Like, when they do that thing where they lean back and lift their hips a tiny bit as they adjust their sitting position, come on, bruh. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, everyone has a right to their own attractions. It's just, I feel like this one is just, like, this one just sounds like she's thirsty and shit. Like, if anything,
The royal penis is clean, Your Highness.
welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is a man whose sickness for the thickness prevents him from skinny dipping. He is also a man who may include running his mouth as part of his cardio routine. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. I am here because I want to talk about something, and I don't know. I want to get something simple to talk about. Let's say simplicity. Yeah, I'm going to discuss simplicity. That's like the main theme of this episode. But, I was going to go with babies, but I don't think that would be very appropriate to the main topic. Then I was going to talk about desire, which wouldn't have been as appropriate to the other bit. So, you know what? Let's just keep shit simple. Yes, this episode is about simplicity. And if anything, it's there to show that sometimes things aren't as complicated as you think they are. Sometimes you don't have to go all the way to the bloody ends of the earth or, try some of the wildest things to get to other people. Sometimes you can just go for the simple things and you can just stick to things that aren't as extreme and get the same, if not even a better result for the efforts that you're putting in, Although, with that said, I hope you do actually listen all the way till the end, because I do have a couple of things that I do want to use to expound on what it is that I've just talked about. And should you like the episode, should you not like it, should you want to give feedback, or should you want to give a potential topic idea, then you can reach me via the social media handles in the description. The DMs are always open, and I would be more than happy to check out what it is that you would like to say and, handle it accordingly, especially if it's one of those potential topic ideas. But all in all, thank you so much for listening. I hope you listen all the way till the end, like I said earlier before, and I should probably get things going. And to kick things off, I want to start by discussing the story that is babies, like I'd mentioned earlier. Or, the fact that some people aren't getting them. Or should I say, the fact that we may not have enough babies, generally speaking on one side, and I guess demographically speaking on the other. So I've got two stories here. One is from the US of A, the other one is here in Kenya. And I figured since they're fairly related in some way, shape or form, I might as well handle them both. Now, I'm going to start things off from the US of A, where the Trump administration has been working on a $5,000 baby bonus to convince American women to have more children, because apparently birth rates are declining in the US of A. The same place which has the Alabama and, like the kids from like the relatives and shit, and having multiple kids from multiple baby daddies and shit, like they seem to be having an issue with declining birth rates, which does seem like a bit of a good thing, but at the same time it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because I'm guessing more women don't want to have kids if they're not in something particularly stable or with someone that, they could be probably like very comfortable having kids with. But on the other hand, there's the issue of the population crisis that is on a global scale, where, different countries are having trouble like having kids or just getting the people who are in child rearing age to actually have kids, because it's something that might actually come back to bite us in the near future. Although with that said, let me just read the story real quick, then I can get into my proper thoughts on this. So it says, and I quote, "The Trump administration is considering a $5,000 baby bonus, quote unquote, as part of a broader initiative to address the declining birth rate in the United States. This proposal, among others, aims to encourage family growth and bolster the nation's demographic future. The key proposals under this discussion include a $5,000 baby bonus, which is a one-time payment to new mothers post-childbirth intended to alleviate initial child-rearing costs. 2. Fulbright scholarship adjustments, reserving 30% of Fulbright scholarships for applicants who are married or have children, promoting traditional family structures. 3. Fertility education programs, which are government-funded initiatives to educate women on ovulation tracking and menstrual health, aiming to increase natural conception rates. Advocates, including Vice President J.D. Vance, support these measures as essential for national renewal. However, critics argue that such policies may exclude single parents and overlook the need for comprehensive support systems like affordable childcare and healthcare. As discussions continue, the administration's approach to boosting birth rates remains a topic of national debate, balancing incentives with broader social and economic considerations. End quote. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I pay a lot of attention to the news and I listen to people online, but I feel like this is one of those situations where some people just don't get it because they haven't had to live that life and they just haven't existed anywhere beyond their bubble to actually know what the issue is. Because even for me, who is a Kenyan who lives in Kenya, I've never been to the US of A, I know that the best way that you can actually make people have more babies, one of the best things that they can do is just reducing the cost of healthcare. Alright, the cost of having a baby, if I'm not wrong, is probably double the $5,000 baby bonus that these guys are giving, or probably even well above double. So the chances of someone deciding, you know what, I'm going to go and have a baby, like just by hospital costs alone, is a lot. Alright, and a lot of people in the US complain about insurance and how the healthcare system is just shit. It's a for-profit system, it's absolute shit. So if they could fix the healthcare system itself, in that it's not as for-profit as it currently is for a lot of Americans, I think they might actually get an increase in birth rates just by virtue of that as well. Also, I don't know if fertility education programs are really going to help, because it's fertility education that taught women that there's an ovulation cycle and there's safe days. And if they get contraception, it basically means that they don't have to worry about shit like that. So there's a pretty good chance that fertility education might not necessarily help, because it's that education that's made more and more women particularly capable of not having kids whenever they'd want, or, you know, circumstantially, whether they want to or not. So maybe the education programs might not be all that useful. Although, you know, sex education isn't a bad thing, you know, just saying. Although, with that said, now I'll bring things now to our side of the pond here in Kenya. And apparently, according to an economic survey that was published this year, for the past 10 years, we have been having more boys born than girls. And there's data to back it up. And apparently, in 2023 alone, we had over 740,000 boys that were born, as opposed to 702,000 girls. And experts are saying that this trend reflects global biological patterns, and if anything, I think this is quite sad, but also quite interesting for all of these men who like to talk about how there's way more women in the planet than men. Because when you're looking at shit like this, now some of those talking points that they like going back to don't really work all that well, because like, there's a lot of guys that like talking about how polygamy should be a thing because there's way more women on the planet than men. And I've never understood how that is supposed to justify what it is they're doing. And I know for the men right now, it's not really that big of an issue. Maybe we do have more women out here in these streets than men. But the reality of it is, like, this isn't a problem that we're going to be dealing with now. This is a problem we'll be dealing with 15, 20 years from now. Because if it's for the past 10 years, you think about it, like, kid is probably already 10, then add an extra 15 years, that's 25. Now, suddenly, when she's busy trying to look for someone around her age, there's going to be way more guys, because you have to look at guys that are her age, as well as guys that are older than her. That, you know, let's say they're married, let's say they're divorced, and all of those guys, now, along with her age mates, want her. Hell, maybe you might even throw in a couple of younger dudes. And now, polygamy doesn't seem as viable as it seemed when people were busy talking about more women on the planet than men. Or should I say more women in the country than men. Now, suddenly, it's like, do you think that women being polyandrous would actually make more sense? Because to the same guys that like talking about how, oh, you know, there's way more women on the planet than men, like, if you showed them this stat and you said, okay, now there's way more boys than girls, should women be polyandrous? Those are going to be the same exact people that will now switch the argument, change goalposts, and be like, no, it's not cultural. And honestly, we're very cultural people, and our culture allows for polygamy, but it doesn't allow for polyandry. And now, suddenly, They want to talk about culture instead of just admitting the reason why they like having multiple partners and or wives is simply because they just like to fuck around. They just like the option of screwing more than one woman. And instead of simply just admitting that, they're busy trying to look for some sort of logical or biological or scientific or statistical reason to justify whatever it is that they do, instead of just coming out and admitting, look, I like bagging younger babes. I like fucking around. Like, just keep it simple like that, Just the same way I was saying, in Trump's administration, they should just make healthcare cheaper. Simple as that. And with those simple remarks, I'm going to leave it at that and move it on to our main topic of this episode. Now, not too long ago, while I was on Reddit, I stumbled across a particularly interesting post on nonsexual things that men do that are very attractive. Now, I am going to read the post itself because it is a pretty interesting but also fairly long post because it has like 16 different points and they were very well explained. But it did get me thinking about how it is that we could flip the script a little bit, for certain particular reasons, which I will get to in a moment. So let me just read the post real quick. So it says, and I quote, "It's not all the time when y'all are supposed to be like holding each other's shirts out here with this men versus women debates. Y'all need to take a break from all that and give each other credit where it's due. Here's my lengthy list of non-sexual things that men do that get my engine going. LOL. Please note that I am obviously speaking for myself and not all women. 1. Smelling good/great hygiene. 2. When you're talking to a tall man and he leans down to your height to hear you better. Shit. 3. When they're working on something and they look so focused and into it. 4. Having a nice broad muscular back. My god, you guys look so delicious from the back when you wear nice fitting t-shirts. 5. Being calm and soft-spoken. Dangerous breed, these ones. You are just calm and don't see the need to yell or get aggressive even when you're angry. You still speak calmly and softly to get your point across. Fuck. Itabidi, I become very submissive because way. 6. Being very confident or secure in yourself without being arrogant. 7. Wearing a plain white cotton t-shirt and a simple, very simple, slim gold or silver chain. Wait. 8. Having an authentic personality. You have your own thoughts, feelings, and sense of humor and ideas, and you're not afraid to express yourself. Ooh, come for this. 9. When they put their hand on your lower back and or hold your hand to guide you through a crowd. Shit, my goodness. 10. Intentionality, effort, and consistency will get this good puss sat on your face quick, fast, and in a hurry. 11. Planning and fixing things. Anything. Just plan or fix something. 12. Watches and belts. Just wear them. They make you look 10 times hotter. This might be sexual, but the sound of a belt being buckled or unbuckled, yeah, that's my favorite song right there. 13. When they do that thing where they lean back and lift their hips a tiny bit as they adjust their sitting position. 14. Great eye contact. Yum. 15. This one will strike plenty of nerves, but being what you people call a simp only for a lady who you like and she likes you right back is very, very, very attractive to her and any other women keeping up with you too. 16. Being a gentleman, having manners and decorum. End quote. Okay, I'm gonna be very honest. When I read this, the first thing that just clicked in my mind is this baby is probably ovulating. Because what in the fuck, like when they do that thing where they lean back and lift their hips a tiny bit as they adjust their sitting position, they come on bruh, like don't get me wrong, like everyone has a right to their own attractions. It's just, I feel like this one is just, like this one just sounds like she's thirsty and shit. Like if anything, there's some bits here that I look at and I'm like, okay, this genuinely does make sense. And there are women who have, admitted to, really, really being for some of the points that are here. But some of these other ones just look like, Shorty must have been very thirsty and she was ovulating, and that combo is just never good for anyone, especially if you don't have someone around to go and take all of that tension off of your system. But anyways, all of that said and done, when I did read this post, it did kind of remind me of something. And I know I shouldn't be making it all about the guys, but I'm a guy that talks about guy shit, so I might as well. But when I thought about it for a moment, it kind of did occur to me that guys rarely ever have instances where we talk about the non-sexual things that make women attractive to us. Like, you'll more often than not see lists where women will talk about non-sexual things that make a man attractive, but you rarely ever see posts on non-sexual things that make women attractive to men. I guess maybe it's because it's a lot more women that will read online posts on such things, but I figured, you know what, considering that I do have some women that listen to my podcast, and, you know, it's good to enlighten them about the male experience, I might as well give them a list of at least some non-sexual things that women do that can make them very attractive. And I figured, you know what, I'm gonna give it a list of my own. Now, of course, it's a list of non-sexual things that a woman can do, and I will go into that, you know, trying to make it as unique as possible. Of course, there are some things from the previous list that are kind of par for the course and they happen across both sides. So, for example, things like smelling good and having great hygiene, you know, things like, you know, being into something and, you know, you're totally into it. Although I think for guys it's a little bit different. But essentially, you know, the smelling good, having great hygiene, being calm and soft spoken, being confident and secure, maintaining eye contact, intentionality. Like, I feel like all of those things plus a couple of others from this list are kind of par for the course and they apply on both ends. So me repeating them doesn't necessarily help all that much, because I think for women, like, if you can try and stick to, you know, the list that she gave in her own way, shape or form, like, there's some things that you can pick that you can also implement yourself. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop a list of things that guys would like that are very non-sexual and seem very, very specific to guys, if I can put it like that. So my list isn't very long, it's only about 7 points, and I will try to keep them as concise as possible, and I will try to explain them as best as I can. And hopefully there won't be anything that will be sexual in this list. Alright, so one of the first things that I could probably put on that list is when a babe cooks for you. I know it seems like we're trying to make babes, or it seems like I am trying to make babes start to like cook for guys, and like I'm trying to send them to the kitchen or some shit. If there's a feminist that's catching a feeling over that, I don't know, like, you can go and suck on Big Daddy for like, yeah. But the reality of it is, when you cook for a guy, first of all, there's that intentionality and there's that care that we can definitely see when you put effort into that. Especially if you're good at cooking and you make me a really nice meal. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you've taken hours to do, although, you know, if you did take hours marinating some shit, or you took hours cooking me some shit, I'd appreciate it just as much. But essentially, just cooking for a guy in general is actually a very, very simple act of love. Now, you could argue that this is something that is very like inbred as like African kids or like guys in general, because our moms cooked for us. But essentially, if you cook for us, it's a very simple show of love, and we absolutely love it when a woman cooks for us. Now, the second one is when a babe initiates and she maintains the vibe. Or let me try and explain this in a little bit of a better way. If a babe is not shy of texting first, not necessarily it's the first encounter, but just texting first and expressing that interest, you know, and maintaining conversation. All right. I love a good conversationalist. And actually, I should have put a disclaimer that this list is probably a little bit more personal to me, but I've tried to make it as general as possible for guys. But of course, there are biases. Let me just give the main bias, which is a lot of these things are very specific to me. But essentially, I want a good conversationalist. Can you hold a conversation? One of the problems for a lot of people, and this goes across the board, both men and women, we have a lot of people nowadays that are very shit at holding conversation. People haven't been sensitized on building rapport or just trying to hold a conversation with someone. And some of the simplest ways you can do that is by listening and asking questions. Like, that's a very simple way to do it. And for babes that can hold a conversation, I actually kind of like it because it shows that you can hold my attention and you are expressing interest in a particularly straightforward and very, very nice way. Then the next thing, at least this one is more specific to me, is spontaneity, or the act of being spontaneous. Now, it's not like I'm going to be like, you know what, I want a babe that decides, you know what, let's fly to Maldives. I've got money, you've got money. Like, nah, it's nothing like that. Just simple, spontaneous things. Let's go for a movie. Let's go have lunch. How about we do A, B, C, or D? Like certain spontaneous things that, would be just simple and fairly fun to do are things that I actually like, because I tend to like sticking to some version of a schedule, and routines are great, but sometimes switching things up is really, really nice. It keeps things interesting and it gives some value to life in a way that, just you kind of look at it in a simple way, and it's not supposed to be all that, but it can actually carry quite some weight, especially if you're someone that likes being spontaneous from time to time. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, that's the same thing women will say, they want a guy who's spontaneous, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, if it's across the board, I don't mind it. There's nothing wrong with being spontaneous. Now, with that said, let me move on to the next one. Being flirty with me. Now, of course, I did say non-sexual, and of course, flirting can be sexual. I'm someone that has casually flirted with people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. Just the subtleties here and there, and just being flirty as far as conversation goes, it's a pretty interesting thing. As someone that can flirt and someone that does flirt, at least whenever I get the chance to, it's good to know that there's someone that can match the vibe and can match the tease. It's pretty interesting. As far as expressing attraction and showing desire, this is probably the most potent non-sexual way that you can do it besides touch, and it can actually go a really long way, because if anything, you actually do seem like an interesting person besides just being seen as a potentially desirable person. And speaking of being desirable, let's move on to the dressing. Because, well, I know there's some people that love dressing like hobos, but let's be straight up and honest, fellas, and I guess even just as animals in general, we are visual creatures. If you have eyes, if you enjoy looking at stuff with your eyes, of course you want to see something that looks good. Of course I want to see a babe that dresses well. And that doesn't mean that she has to put on a full face of makeup and wear the tightest skirt or some shit that's provocative, nah. But dressing well just generally, whether you're in the house or outside of it, is a particularly nice thing. And I know there's someone who's like, oh, why do we have to dress for men, blah, blah, blah. I want to be at home and dress like a hobo and shit. To which I think there's two sides to this. Of course, there's just generally dressing like a homeless person, if you can call it like that, whereby you pay zero attention, you throw some clothes on, it doesn't show how good you look or anything, and you basically just look very meh. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I can get it, it's something that you wear at home, and that's entirely up to you. But personally, I feel like even though you're chilling at home, you can actually be comfortable and still look good. Of course, I'm not saying that you're supposed to have outfit changes and shit, but just wear some shit that's just nice and makes you look good either way. If you're gonna step out of the house especially, wear something that makes you look good. Even as someone like me, who even though I'm a guy, I will still pay attention to how I look when I get out of the house, it's good to dress good. And if anything, I like to look at something that I'd want to be with or want to be in, sexually speaking, and I'd want to have that desire come from different places, especially sight, because I am a visual person. Then the next non-sexual thing that women can do that will make them very attractive is when they tell a dude what it is that they like and what it is that they want from the guy. Now, it's not like I'm saying that I want a materialistic babe who's like, I want you to buy me a car, and I want you to take me to coast, and I want you to get me this and that. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so horny. Nah, it's none of that. I mean, the simple things that you like that I do, you tell me, I like it when you do this and this for me. I like it when you give me A, B, C, or D. And there's some person that's probably thinking about Diddy who's like, I like it when you like this, daddy. Anyways, get your mind out the gutter. Where are we? So when it comes to a situation where a babe tells you what it is that she likes and what it is that she wants you to do for her, on the simple intimate things, not beyond that, that's a different discussion for a different set of people. When it comes to that, one, it shows that she is genuinely interested and she likes the things that you do for her. So now adding those additional tweaks, those additional improvements, or just reiterating something that she likes does become a very hot thing, because not only have you acknowledged that you like that I do stuff for you, but you're telling me exactly what it is that you want me to do. So it's now I've hit like 90%, so you're giving me the additional bits that can get me to like 99, if you're catching my drift. And it's something that works very, very well for guys, because you find that whenever you tell a guy, I like you when you do this and this for me, if the guy genuinely does like you, they'll start doing those exact things. Like, oddly enough, you will find that guys will do that, because if they do like you, they want you happy, and they get a rush of feeling like they find it very sexy when you desire them as well. So of course they're gonna do stuff that will make you happy. Of course they're gonna do stuff that you like to do. So that's actually something that I think is sort of par for the course. Then last but not least, because this is like the last one before now it starts becoming sexual, when she gets touchy. And I say this as a man whose preferred love languages includes physical touch or physical contact. Like, there's something about when a babe wraps her hand or hands around you, and I know it almost sounds a little bit gay or like I want a manly babe, but like, just let me cook with this one. Like, there's a way that, like, when you feel a babe is reaching out and holding you, it feels really, really good. Especially if you feel like you can be a little bit more protective like that. Like, you can hold on to her a little bit nicely. When she holds your hand, like, there's also this bit where like they can play with like the back of your neck or the hairs at the back of your neck and like massages them or toys around with them. Like, that shit feels nice as hell though. When they take your hand and they put it on their thigh, like, there's stuff like that that is very, very unsexual, or it's not particularly sexual itself, but it builds that anticipation. It makes it such that they're clearly showing you that they desire you, and they love it when you're in their presence. They like it when you touch them. Because if a babe doesn't like you, that's when the whole consent thing is usually brought up. They don't want you to touch them. They will feel the ick the moment you touch them, whether it's on their shoulder, whether it's whether it's touching on their points or some shit. Like, they will always catch a feeling. But the moment they like you, my G, they will let you touch, and they will let you touch a lot. And as a touchy person whose love language does include physical touch, it's something that I can also say that I love, because I also feel a little bit more affection when someone's being a little bit touchy with me. And with all of that said, all of these very, very interesting tidbits dropped here, let me just conclude by saying that times today have made it such that people are relying so much on the sexual so that they can try and give desire and build anticipation and shit. And honestly, I feel like it's very played out. There's a lot of people that have lost the art of teasing and flirting just because they decided to jump to the sexual, and they haven't focused on the non-sexual bits that can create anticipation and desire. And yet, the reality of it is there's so much more that you can do in the act of building anticipation and desire in the non-sexual than you can in the sexual. And if anything, it'll probably propel you a hell of a lot further as far as being a desirable partner goes. Although, then again, maybe I don't entirely understand it. Maybe the list was too biased, and maybe I was just saying things that appeal to me. Either way, I want your thoughts on it. The DMs are open. On IG, it is at the Breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the Breaktime Podcast. On X, it is at Bagaka the D. And on Bluesky, it is at the breaktimepod.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.
But what I believe is that if you put a pastor and a prostitute in one room, one is likely to convert the other.